It's 2001, the 2nd of December, and we're in Perth, Western Australia. Shane Warne's there, and he's on the edge of history. Fairly standard for the greatest of his generation, right? I mean, he had a permanent reservation at the edge of history. But this time, it was different. This time it had nothing to do with the precocious talent he enjoyed with the ball, destroying batting lineups around the world. This time, Warne was the man with the bat. Australian sports fans cherish Shane Warne. They followed him, they barracked for him, they adored him. And even if you weren't a sports nut, you knew exactly who he was. You knew that Warnie did things that nobody else could do. An all-time great, the record books are filled with entries of Warne's feats. After saving the dying art of wrist spin, he went on to reach heights with it that nobody could fathom. But over the course of his 15-year Test career, there was one achievement that always eluded the Victorian. One final feather he just couldn't get in his cap. He never scored a Test century. This is the story of the time he came so close. Closer than close. As close as anybody has ever been without getting there. This is the tale of Warne's 99, and this is SN Crunched. It's difficult to mount a case that anybody has been quite so dynamic or brilliant with the cricket ball in their hands than the late great Shane Keith Warne. But there is one nagging record, one that Warne always wanted to avoid, a thorn in his side. Shane Warne, the man with the most Test runs ever without reaching the fabled three figures. Now, Warne was a more than serviceable batter for somebody usually coming in at number 8. And in the team he played in, almost all of the time, the hard work was already done with the blade by the time he was required. So he finished with a Test average of 17 across 199 Test innings. Pretty good. Not outstanding, but pretty good, netting him 3,152 Test runs. So with all of that noted, let's go back to Perth in 2001. The Aussies are in the middle of a Trans-Tasman Trophy stoush with the Kiwis. It's a tight series too, with draws all that Steve Waugh's dominant side could take from the first 2 Test matches at Brisbane and Hobart. At the WACA, the series and the silverware were all on the line. And in this series, Warne was coming into a bit of form with the bat as well. After a rough trot in the middle of the year in England, he slotted a handy 70 against New Zealand in their second Test. He was building towards something. Indeed, as it turned out, the main man was primed to do as he'd never done before. Warne walked to the middle with Australia in some strife too at 6 for 192, after New Zealand racked up 534 in their first dig. Then our Shane went to work. First came an accomplished half-century, taking Warne a touch under 2 hours from 94 deliveries. For a man with a reputation of taking on the bowlers, this was positively sedate and just what his team needed to get out of a jam. Next up, his own top score. He'd hit 86 twice in the space of a month in 1999. That was now in his rear vision mirror. So to the nervous 90s, he was within touching distance. Then to 99. Now, at this point, it's worth noting how those 99 runs were collected. Specifically, the fact that he hadn't hit a 6. 10 fours from 157 deliveries in nearly 4 hours. Not a counter-attacking blast, not driving a broken opposition into the turf. This was a proper Test innings. And all he needs is one more run. So what did he do on 99? Daniel Vettori has the ball, the bespectacled left-arm tweaker. It's a familiar, steady approach. Australian hearts are in their mouths from coast to coast as the field comes in. It's full. He swings hard, up and up it goes to deep mid-wicket. He's tried to hit it for 6, but down it comes as well. Into the safe mitts of Mark Richardson coming in off the rope. Metres away. Warne's gone, caught on the boundary trying to launch a 6, walking off for 99. He can't believe it. Nobody can believe it. Now, this is devastating enough for Warne as it is. Then, as he reaches the dressing room balcony, the TV flash up on the replay screen an angle that makes it so much worse. Vettori had overstepped by a long way, a clear no ball. Had the technology of today been around then, he would have been promptly recalled. But this wasn't so in 2001. Human error was just that. There wasn't anything anybody could do about it. It was in the book. Warne was gone. In the 6 years of Test cricket Warne played after his fateful 99, he only once again got close. 90 at Manchester during his magnificent all-round Ashes performance in 2005. But in Perth, as it would be later at Old Trafford, it was Warne's work with the bat that laid the foundation for Australia drawing tests they were otherwise well behind in. The series would finish 0-0. Australia retained the trophy. But how did missing out feel for the great man himself? Well, some 18 years later, it remained a moment that puzzled him, as he explained when speaking on the Howie Games podcast.
I go, why don't you just lap sweep it or just push it in there for one? I don't know, mate. When I see the replay of me trying to slog it for six after all day donging it down the ground, I think, you idiot.
So there it is, a highest test score of 99 for SK Warne, the ton that should have been but never was. But just as Warnie liked it, it makes for one brilliant story.